Hello and welcome to the second episode of The Guys of Texas. My name's TJ. We've got Jono back. We've got Seth. Thank you guys. We're in our second episode and we're into football season, boys. Finally, it's finally here. Talk about Texas versus Rice. Let's go over kind of what we saw from week one. Ewers went 19 for 30 with 290 yards. It was kind of lackluster, if you ask me. They're great numbers, but against Rice, Jaden Blue and Jonathan Brooks rush for both of them just over 50 yards. C.J. Baxter had a great run, injured himself right after that, of course. Had a rib injury. Tests and everything were negative, so he was back at practice today. Where they had 90 yards on the day, he looked good. The defense held Rice to 176 total yards. No turnovers for the offense. What were your guys' kind of key takeaways from the game this week? What we saw?
Dude, the defense looks awesome, man. I know there have been like rumors. I feel like it was slowly creeping into the rumor mill as training camp went on, but it was really awesome to see how well they performed. That defensive line, man, they were putting work in. It's gonna be really fun to see what that actually looks like against Alabama. But right now, man, my hopes and expectation for the defensive line, even the back, man, and they were looking great out there flying around. So key takeaway, the biggest thing I was excited about is the defense performance. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, Sweat, of course, shows back up again. He's looking good, and you got Ford making his run again. He's looking strong for me as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was excited. I was excited about the wide receivers. I mean, you look at how much depth we have at wide receiver. I know Quinn was a little lackluster. I mean, we didn't see any huge explosive plays, but I mean, looking at our depth across the board in receiving is super exciting. I mean, the one kind of red flag of the day that I saw was being 1 for 3 on fourth downs. I mean, there was a couple of fourth downs there that we had that you kind of hope you can push Rice around a little bit on 4th and 1, and it's just we weren't quite able to do that, and especially having a line, like we have that's used to playing together by this point. We really didn't get the push and the holes like I kind of anticipated us getting in this game against a team like Rice. And it got better as the game went along, but I mean that's a stamina thing too and a depth thing. So
What things do we have to work on before next week? What did we see that we're needing to improve on?
Obviously, the deep ball is what everybody's been talking about nonstop. But I mean, I think it's going to come when it happens. Like finally, it's going to click and it's going to be there. But outside of that, it just felt like getting in more of a rhythm. It seemed like we didn't really get into an offensive rhythm until halfway through the third quarter, and like being that slow to get started just isn't going to fix anything for us. We're going to struggle real hard this week if we don't come out with an immediate rhythm.
Well, I think part of that was because we started so many young guys.
Yeah.
If you look at that, what we started and put out on the field, there were a lot of young guys that came out, and I think Shark was really trying to figure out kind of his personnel and kind of what he wanted to give them the real experience to start the game. I think, and we talked about that last week. I mean, we said there was not going to be a complete blowout. That he was going to be working on a lot of things. I love the Sanders up the middle.
yeah,
Um, just dove right up the middle and took the ball and ran with it. There were a lot of promising things for me. I know that there was a lineman that had sat out this week that'll be back in for the full rotation with a six-man rotation. So that's going to be a big key. But that deep ball, I
yeah.
it's almost to a point right now where I think it was planned and staged because
I wish, man.
the balls I saw were either way underthrown or and so it's reversed. Last year was overthrown, and this year I saw or this last game was a couple underthrown balls. But as a coach, do you not possibly do that and force the hand of okay, they can't beat us in the long ball? Do we want to
Yeah.
kind of show that? I wonder how in depth, with coaching. I wonder how in depth they really get with this, because this is a each team is using film on it. So do they use that as a decoy? I'm hoping that was the case because we've always heard that Ewers can be really accurate, but we haven't really seen it yet. As far as last week, and then the last few games before, so we'll see. But that's the one thing I've always been harping on with him.
I mean, it'd be amazing if it was a scheme, like just a playing around type thing. I don't believe in that for a second.
I mean,
Those
it
short
would be
balls,
great.
he can keep
It
moving.
almost looks like it at times, man. It almost looks like it. Sometimes it's so obvious. I'm like, dude, how is he missing these throws? I mean, there's a couple against Rice that, I mean, he either threw it out of bounds or threw it short, like you said, and it's just like it's frustrating when you got guys like Worthy that can just blow the top off of a defense.
Yeah. Dude, he better start overthrowing again because that underthrow is
Yeah,
not good this week.
the underthrowing will kill us.
Oh, dude, I was getting so nervous.
Auburn. He missed a 56 yarder. Okay,
Yeah.
he did. He hit a 49 yarder. So he went 3 for 4 with field goals, 4 extra points. So that's going to be another one that's going to be a key use next week. So the 49 yarders, that's leg enough for now, but he's got to be accurate. We know we missed some short ones last year, so that's another big one there. What else?
I was curious to ask you guys what you thought of Ethan Burke. Everybody's I mean, he's been a big focal point of the offseason if he was going to develop into that edge player. It was the first glimpse of him. I was curious what y'all's thoughts were on him, or just any person that really sparked on the defense that was an underclassman.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a handful of young guys that came in on the defensive side of the ball that played really well. It was one of those. It was exciting to see on defense. I felt like we were swarming the ball well, and I think as a unit they played really well, especially the front seven. So yeah, I mean, I really think a lot of the young guys played really well. I mean, it's what you expect from these guys, but yeah, overall, like I was highly impressed with the young freshmen taking the field. It didn't seem like any of them the lights were too bright for them. You know, they looked like they were hungry and ready once they got out there. So it was exciting to see and promising for sure.
Yeah.
What did you see from him, Seth?
I mean, I'm just Ethan Burke. He was in and around every play. 1.5 sacks his very first game of the season. I mean, he was replacing Ogofu, who had 2 sacks for the whole season. So I feel like we're getting a little bit upgraded there already. I'm excited to see what he does with a little bit more time this season. He's got a lot of potential there.
Well, we have a big test next week.
Another person I felt like was what's his name? What's the young safety? Derek.
Which one are you talking about?
The 5-star
You're gonna
5-star safety from Louisiana. Yeah, I know his name.
Now you've got me. Because now I keep thinking Mitchell, and that's not right.
Yeah, he was another one that my eye was on him, and it was impressive to see how well he was flying around. He was coming I just kept seeing a blur come across the screen. It was always him right there to the action, so it was nice to see.
Right. What anything else from the Texas game from last week?
No, I think that covers most of it.
I mean, I think it went kind of how we all expected it to go. You're going to get kind of a vanilla play call from Sark. You know, I don't feel like he's going to do anything too flashy. I did like that little screen that they had to Brooks where he kind of faked one way and, you know, Brooks leaked out, had that, I think it was a 45-yard touchdown or so. So, I mean, it's kind of what you expected to be versus Rice. It was very vanilla, but at the same time, I mean, I think the defense was the star. I mean, I felt like every time that they were out there, I was confident that they were going to be able to stop them. And I mean, we didn't even give up that touchdown until the fourth quarter, like you kind of expected to be at that point. So, I mean, seeing them dominate, especially giving up only, I think it was 30 yards rushing the entire game. I mean, that's huge. So.
Well, we'll talk about the Bama game coming up here in a little bit, but I kind of want to go over the rest of the games that kind of happened this week. The big one for me, again, we got them Colorado boys just wheeling and dealing right now against TCU. What's your thoughts on the game?
I mean, what were y'all's picks on that game? Did y'all have TCU or did you have
I had Colorado. I had Colorado all day.
Yeah, I had TCU.
Matter of fact, our one listener that I know of, Jack McBee, texted me immediately and was like, "Hey, dude, you called this on the podcast." I was like, "Thanks. That's the one guy that's listening to the actual podcast." Good. But no, I think I figured that they would be a completely different team, but there was talk about Sanders and whether or not it would translate to Power Five, and oh my, um, he threw the ball. What was it,
510 yards.
510 yards, 4 TDs. Looks real good right now. Now you're playing against TCU, which TCU had nobody coming back this year. They're a young team trying to figure their stuff out. They weren't the same team as they were last year. But I'm going to tell you, week one, there's a lot of teams that Colorado could have played, and the way they played, they could have run through. They looked really, really good.
Yeah, it's going to be hard not to put some respect on Colorado's name after that performance. Like, I was not expecting that at all. I know Hunter's an amazing prospect, but that was freaking video game style play
Bro,
right there.
how do you play on both sides of the ball like that?
That's crazy.
That would wear me out.
I mean, I feel like Hunter had the ranking and everything and all the pedigree to go along with it. So, like, him breaking out, like, okay, yeah, he did what we thought he could do eventually. Dude, Shadir Sanders, am I saying his first name right? Sanders?
Yep.
Dude, I was shocked by him. I thought he was going to have the hard, like that. I thought that was going to be the hinge point of their team, was him translating to this more competitive conference play.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, he was there for it, man. That was awesome.
He maintained, especially in the high pressure. Like, it was, everyone was like, "Oh, he's just a daddy's boy. That's the only reason why he's playing up here, anyways." And it proved everybody wrong. Did y'all see the Deion doesn't do captaincy anymore?
Yeah, I saw that.
That's
That's cool.
It was an L and a D for leader and dog. So
I like that.
That's why I've always Deion is a college coach that he brings in the no BS mentality. Like, there is no poor me. You either come in and you do the work, you get out. And we were talking about this the other day, but that it just would not translate to NFL at all. You're not going to be able to tell millionaires, although we're getting to a point where with NIL, it's about to be the same thing. But for now, you're not going to be able to go up to the NFL and do the same thing that he's doing. But for college, I mean, I don't know how long he'll be at Colorado if he keeps this up. You make Colorado a powerhouse, maybe, but you just making it by where you still won't make the playoffs just because of you're in the pack, like, and he's going to move to the SEC. Like, that would be wild to have him in a big, strong school. But to be able to grow his own college in Colorado and do that is even more of an undertaking. And right now let's not get carried away. This is week one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
let's
week one.
be clear. This is always the overreaction week. But they looked really, really good, and TCU did not look good.
No, they didn't. It was impressive, man. He put it on the table. Everybody talked about him all off season. He really backed it up. So have to keep it up. But man, I'm excited to see what happens.
Oh yeah. Then we had Baylor and Texas State. That was I think they said that was Texas State's ever BC or what? It's the first team, like, Power Five.
First win versus a Power 5 school.
Yeah. What was the final game?
42-31 was the final.
And it was 42-24 at one point. Like, I think
the line was Baylor at 26.5. That's massive. That's a massive upset, dude. I mean, Texas State's another one of those schools that, they brought in a new coach as well, and I think they were second or third behind Colorado in transfers and just shake up in roster in general. So it was another one of those that, it's kind of like, is this going to be the new wave of college football? Are we going to get these coaches in and completely shaking up these rosters? Before you would see them take on, we always talked about, oh, this is Tom Herman's guys that Coach Sark is, coaching now, but with the way that you can turn things over with transfers now, I mean, you could literally come in and have a completely new team within, one off season. So you're seeing it with Texas State. Now you're seeing it with Colorado. So that's an interesting trend to see how that goes with college football. Is that going to be the new wave?
Do you think Deion, this is a sidebar thing that just popped in my head, but do you think Deion's like paving the way for more like large personality retirees like to come in because he
Yeah.
came in like he's prime time, came in and he has his own following, and so he's able to recruit like nobody's business. I've been really kind of contemplating the idea of other big name people are going to end up trying to come in and they're going to be able to recruit like crazy because of their previous careers.
I think that works to a sense, but I think you have to have that same mentality that Dion has, and what the mentality that Dion has is not normal. I mean that is a very strong mentality that he has, and he has no nonsense. It's all solely football, no partying, none of that. Like he is very strict, and I think that only translates in certain ways. Like I think he's got the personality for that, but
Mm-hmm.
there's just some like Nick Saban is a very strict but he seems to be kind of like a little bit more laid back now. He used to be very strong, and he now is seemed to he gets into the players, but he has his coaches more do it. Dion is in everybody's face, so I
Yeah,
think it's kind of relative.
it'd be
I mean,
interesting
I
to
don't.
see. I've been curious if it ends up spurring more people to try it at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to get Tony Romo to come in and act like Dion. Like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to get some of these schools excited, though. I mean, you got like a Colorado that's coming off a 1-win season. You know, they got nothing to lose at that point, dude. Front the money and bring a guy in with that kind of star power. So, I mean, if you do have some other potential guys that are wanting to coach that kind of do have that star power, I mean, you're going to kind of
Antonio,
see these schools take risk. Why not? You know, like why
Antonio
not at that
Brown
point?
to Jackson State.
Yeah. But honestly, that's crazy though. Baylor losing at home to Texas State. I mean, but you look at the Texas State quarterback. I didn't even realize T.J. Finley. He started out in 2020 in LSU. He played 2 seasons with Auburn, transferred, and then he transferred to Texas State. And he came in, and I mean, he dominated that Baylor defense. And that's something I don't think anybody saw coming.
Dude, yeah, what is happening with Baylor? Like he came in and just seemed like he was really going to take control of the Big 12, and his defense scheme looked amazing. And like last year was a little bit of a backslide, and this looks like a cliff. Like I haven't really broken it down, but what is going on in Waco?
I think part of it is that week one. I mean, that week one is always kind of a crapshoot, and you get the right kind of mentality for the team that's never supposed to be in it. You have everything go right, and as far as week one, that mentality once you start like you're on the back end and you're not taking the lead in the game like you're supposed to. I think that plays with your head a lot too, and so I think it may be a kind of a perfect storm. I don't think this is Baylor as a whole, but they've got a big hole to dig out of now to really get back because that just didn't look good.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, kind of piggyback off what you said. I mean, week one, like you said, kind of maybe a perfect storm type thing. But you got to look at too that they got. I know we're gonna be touching on it later, I'm sure, but Utah coming in to Waco, and all those Baylor guys saw Utah dominate Florida in that opening game. A lot of those Baylor guys were looking at that, thinking, "Oh man, we got these guys coming to Waco next week." I mean, Texas State's just one of those teams that you can completely overlook, and that's almost what it seemed like happened with Baylor. I mean, I caught parts of the game. I didn't catch the whole thing, but it just looked like Baylor got punched in the face and they didn't know how to respond back to it, because it's not like that game was super close either. I mean, Texas State was double digit ahead for a majority of that second half. So, I mean, strange situation, but I think it's really just Baylor was not completely focused on the game, potentially looking forward to Utah.
Well, you were talking about this earlier before you got on here, Seth, about the home games. What were you talking about there with Baylor with their home games? How many home games they have?
Yeah, Baylor. I don't know if you've heard this, Seth, but Baylor's got 8 home games this year. Apparently it's a
Yeah,
record for college football that schools never had 8 home games.
we had to
And
look it up.
we dove into their schedule and we were like, what? I mean,
What?
they don't go on the road until UCF in Big 12 play in week 2 of Big 12 play. So that's week 5 of college football that they don't have to travel outside of Waco, which is absurd. Like, I don't
Give
understand
me
how
that
that.
cake schedule.
What kind of favors you got to do for your mark for that type of
Yeah,
thing?
no joke. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where were we? 2 weeks away from that after Bama. I believe we go to Baylor in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think
it's
after
Wyoming and then
Wyoming,
Baylor.
yeah, we
So-
got Wyoming at home and then at Baylor, I believe.
Dude, yeah, I wrote that down as one of the more interesting games that I thought of for this coming weekend. But I guess it's not going to be top tier as far as TV views or anything like that. But Utah Baylor, I think, is going to be really fun to watch. The hype that came off of Baylor after this last week, not Baylor, off of Utah this last week.
Yep.
And then if Baylor's fighting to really come back out of the ditch that they went off into, I think it could be a really fun game to watch this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the other game that it was weird to me was Houston UTSA. The UTSA last year, pretty good. So I didn't look to see who they had lost this year versus last year, but I expected UTSA. I mean, Houston's been a decent program, but I expected UTSA to come and mop the floor with them pretty quickly, and that just didn't happen. I mean, I was trying to find the score to it, but it was a low scoring game at the same time, and I was like, what
Yeah,
happened
it
to
was
both teams?
Yeah, it was 17-14 Houston. But like you said, I mean, that was kind of an interesting outcome. I mean, I know the line was pretty close between the two, but I feel like UTSA really had a great year last year and kind of came over this way. I mean, even though last week I was talking about, I always blank on his name, Holmgren, I guess, at Houston being on the hot seat potentially to start the year, but then he comes out with a big win like that. So, I mean, that's interesting. It kind of just seems like UTSA is kind of back to where we expect them to be.
Yep. Then we had Texas Tech, and
Yeah.
what is it? 2 overtime loss to Wyoming. They don't look like the poised team yet. I mean, they scored a lot of points, but I mean, it's Wyoming. Like, it's not like this is a powerhouse. I mean, we could see different, but I mean, it's the same as like playing Rice, and we'll find out because we play Wyoming
Yeah, we'll
next
find
week.
out.
So, yeah, Texas Tech. That's another loss for the Big 12.
Dude, it felt
Okay.
like Christmas morning when I got home and checked my phone and saw that score. That was a gift. I was on some message boards after that, and it was really funny to watch all of them try to backtrack, talk about like we haven't been hyping ourselves up. It's been the media. We've been saying this wasn't going to be a great season. I'm like, dude, shut up, get out of here, man.
All my
I've
buddies,
been riding
like,
that Kool-Aid train.
my buddies were at halftime were texting like, "Oh, we look like trash," and they weren't even losing yet at that point. And so it's it'll be an interesting season for Tech. I mean, they've got a lot of work to do before Thanksgiving. That's for sure. So,
I mean, is this
making
another
me-
one with Tech that they have Oregon coming in next weekend? Is this another situation that, you know, maybe it's exactly what just happened to Baylor? You have another high caliber team coming in and you're like, I'm going to Laramie,
Yep.
Wyoming. This is not going to be a big deal. But also, I've been in that stadium in Laramie. Dude, that elevation's no joke up there. I mean, it's the highest elevation stadium in college football. So,
Ah,
I mean, it's not an easy place to go in and play, and Texas Tech found that out. But I mean,
Lubbock's not exactly the easiest place to breathe with the dust
Yeah.
everywhere. Either, but
yeah.
and then OK State played Central Arkansas. I mean, that wasn't a blowout at all. Now we actually played UCA. Used to be a rival when I at Harding University. We used to play them. Who? I'll have to look it up. There was somebody who played basketball there. I want to say it was Scottie Pippen.
I want to say, yeah, I was
wanna
going to say, I
it's
think
a
it's Scottie
UCA
Pippen.
Bear. That was their claim to fame player
Really?
there. But yeah, so we played UCA at Harding, but OK State just barely squeaked by UCA. So then yet another game. I mean, again, I know it's week 1, and so everyone's working their kinks out. But overall, as a whole, the Big 12 did not look solid. I mean, Oklahoma took care of Mercer, but that's about it.
Yeah, not impressive at all this week.
Everything else for the Big 12 did not look good. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us saw TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, you know, all going down the way they did. I mean, I'm glad we are doing the Big 12 elimination game on week 2 and not week 1, because I have a feeling some of us would have potentially been done for in week 1 with some of those games. So,
Well, I mean, Ohio State, they barely squeaked by this week.
yeah, not super impressive.
I didn't look at who did they play?
Let me look at it. They played
They had,
Indiana. They won
they had
23 to Indiana.
Indiana. Okay.
I mean, yeah. I don't know what's going to go on there, but Ohio State didn't look like they did that. I feel like they did that all year last year. Like they just squeaked by, they'd get the win, and then all of a sudden they're in playoff talks, and then I think we're at the same thing again. Now, Michigan with Eastern Carolina is only 30-3. It's not like they mopped the floor either. But the big game was last night that I thought was going to be a battle, and it was until Seth Texas was like, "Oh, this is a great game," and immediately the game went south. Immediately.
Dude, I was having so much fun with that game too, and then all of a
Oh
sudden,
yeah.
no point in watching it.
Well, I mean, we expected LSU to come out, and I think I had them actually. I think I picked them to win that game, and Florida State came out, man. They finished that out real strong. So they're definitely gonna be a team to watch. Now LSU can survive this and still be in talks later down the road, but that's why you don't schedule a week one.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly tough week one matchup. But like you said, if you're going to lose a game, I mean, now's the time to get it out of the way. But I was shocked. I mean, I didn't see that LSU defense giving up that much in that game. I mean, it seemed like Florida State really had their way with them in that second half, and that was surprising for sure.
Oh yeah.
It gave me a lot more confidence in my Florida State pick for the Final Four.
All right, so that kind of gives a rundown of the week. I want to talk about there's a debate that happened. So we have a fantasy draft that I was drug into last second with Seth and Jono. And so Zach texted me the night before, was like, "Hey, we had somebody drop out. We need you." And it's a required draft to be live. It's required to be live. And so I get there in person. So I get there, and first there's really like I was told it's a super flex and all of this. And so I was trying to get the game plan together, and I walk in the door and there's 70 solo cups on the table. And I went, "Okay, what are we doing here?" There's been no word of anything. And they were like, "Oh, well, we're choosing draft orders." Like, "Oh, okay." And I noticed there's 12 groups of cups, and there's one less cup in each group. And I said, "I know this is about to not go down like I think it's about to go down." And sure enough, everyone grabs a cup from round 12. And if you've got the number on the bottom of the cup, after you drink it, that's your pick. And so I get to walk in the door and made it all the way to the third. I got third pick. I drink 3 1/3 beer in the first 5 minutes of me being there. No lunch, no nothing. I was like, "What are we doing?" And then we continue to have a draft for 7 hours. Now, don't get me wrong. I get the concept. Everyone wants to hang out, and you don't get to hang out and everything. But let's get the draft over with, and then we can do that. Why does it take so long to do a draft?
Don't act like you weren't having fun, man. You
I
were
had a
up there
blast.
yelling back and forth.
Don't get me wrong. And then you got Kevin pointing at everybody else's team. He gave an analysis of everybody else's team except for his own. So I made sure to call him out on that. But the big debate that came up, and this is the tipping point. We were talking, I think the guys were talking about disc golf, and I was talking about how I have golf the next morning for a draft in Dallas. And Ryan pops up and said, "Oh, well, disc golf is way harder to learn than golf." And I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "It's way harder to learn how to play disc golf than it is to play regular golf." He goes, "You can always pick up golf and go play golf, but you can't do that with disc golf." I said, "Man, 90% of golfers don't shoot over 100. Like that's been a known fact. Like if you're playing legitimate rules, you're not shooting over 100." And he thinks he's going to pick up a club and just dink it down the course and shoot under 100. So the bet now is he's picking a course, and we are going to go to his choosing of a disc golf course, and I'm going to learn to play disc golf in 2 months. Whatever score he gets and I get, that carries over to golf. So whatever strokes he beats me by in disc golf is the strokes that he gets in regular golf, and then we'll see what sport is harder to learn. Am I off on this?
Not at all, dude. Not at all. I'm a disc golf player. Like I played 4 rounds of golf my whole life. and I don't know where they're coming from, dude. It's insane. Golf is a million times harder. You
Here's-
can bring a 5-year-old to throw disc golf.
Well, this is now. Don't get me wrong. I don't think disc golf is gonna. I'm not gonna immediately just like learn disc golf. Like it's gonna take a minute for me to understand like the direction of throw. There's a million different discs, so I've got to figure all that portion. No problem. Here was the funny part: is Brad has been over in the corner quietly. We all know Brad's real quiet, and all of a sudden I just hear, "Hey TJ, I want in on that too." And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, I don't know how well he plays golf. Ryan immediately was like, I've only played golf 4 times in my life. I said, perfect. Now I'm in with Brad, and I'm pretty sure Brad's going to mop the floor in disc golf. And then in regular golf, he'll be able to hang enough to where. So basically, Ryan is just going to be doing the bet for me with Brad. Because Brad, I'm pretty sure, he just quietly snuck it in. He's like, hey, man, I'll take the same thing. I was like, yeah, sure. Wait, how many times have you played golf? So I want to get Ryan on here. We're gonna have to figure this out next week or after next week. We're gonna get on here. We're gonna figure this out.
Ryan's really good at disc golf. He does tournaments and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure he's gonna have a ton of strokes.
And Kevin's sitting here trying to explain to me how par threes work. And I was like, hey man, you got all that from my sport. Like, what are you explaining to me? I understand how par works. So it'll be interesting. I think we're actually going to do, when we do that, I think we're going to do like a video series and kind of just show both ends of it and do that. So we'll let everybody enjoy that. But yeah, so that was the fun part. And then I go to Dallas the next day and we have golf again and then draft in Dallas and got back last night. So I'm done drafting. I think we have one more. We have one more tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be quick. I mean, if that one's over 45 minutes, something's wrong, dude.
The end of August, man, like right in that time, it is just a brutal. Like Sarah's like, you have another draft. Like, look, right, we got to pay the bills somehow. Okay, this is the only way we do it. So, who do you think is going to be the surprise in fantasy this year?
In our league?
No, in general. Just a surprise player that's going to kind of. Do you think Bijan's going to actually be the? First round every.
I was going to take the homer pick. I mean, you kind of took it out of my mouth. Bijan's one of those guys that I feel like I've been consistently hyping up just because we've been watching him for so long, and you see how explosive he is, and why couldn't it translate? You know, catching out of the backfield and running. I mean, he's one of those guys. That I could see having a huge year. And then, my quarterback in fantasy football, Dak Prescott,
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We'll see what happens there. No, but Bijan was one of those guys.
Look at Dak in fantasy is completely different world than Dak in regular football. All right. He produces points. All right. You're not looking to win every game, the Cowboys, because I know you hate the Cowboys, which is fine. It's not a problem. But I'm proud of you for actually figuring out what an actual quarterback is, because as a Texans fan, I'm not sure you still know what that is.
Hey, I wanted Stroud too, but he was off the board earlier than expected. So, we'll discuss that at a later day. Let me get a few weeks in and see how we look.
I'm interested to see how Deuce Vaughn does, because I don't even think he's going to be the number 2. But Pollard gets hurt once. I mean, you're going to have to. I think Deuce, by the middle of the season, ends up making a little bit of a push. Man's quick, and you can't find him.
Yeah.
It's just a jack in the box. All of a sudden, oh, there he is. So I think that's kind of I'm interested to see how Deuce develops into the NFL with his size.
So strange to watch, man.
Bro. It's like
every clip that came out of training camp just looks like it's a Make-A-Wish project.
Well, yeah, it's like, hey man, the halftime show for flag football for 10 and under is over. I need you to get off the field. How do you think Nico's going to do?
I think Nico's going to have a great year. I mean, it's going to be as far as Stroud can carry us, but I mean, there's talent around, man. I took Tank Dell, there, the rookie receiver out of Houston, just complete burner. I'm hopeful for him and the kind of season he's going to have. But I mean, if you look at the wide receiver core, I mean, we got a lot of guys that have a lot of potential. It's just going to be can we put it together? Damian Pierce running the ball is going to be a lot of fun. Just a freaking bull, man. I mean, he's just going to run right over you. There's none of those. Can he stay healthy? That kind of running style is not super realistic in today's NFL game.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with the way these running backs are getting paid and the deals. Nobody's going to burn up their knees in the first 3 or 4 years in those rookie deals. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited for Texas, man. I'm not saying we're going to be competitors in the division right away, but I mean we have something to look forward to, and that's hasn't been the case in a couple of years now.
You think Detroit upsets Kansas City on Thursday night? Detroit's going to be. I don't know.
I'm going to say no, but I mean I get where you're coming from for sure. Detroit looks better.
If I'm taking a line, I'm taking Detroit. I think they look good this year. Now it's NFL, so it's already scripted. So I haven't read the script yet, but I like Detroit this year. I don't think they're going to blow anybody out of the water, but I think they're going to win some games for sure this year. I think they'll make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I mean, that division's tough though. I mean, you got the Packers that obviously look like they're going to have some growing pains. And they're not going to really be in the picture. But I mean, if you look at the rest of that division, all of them have the argument to make the playoffs this year. Even a Chicago team, we saw Justin Fields go extremely high in our draft. So I mean, people are really excited about him back there, which it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Who do you root for, Seth?
Dude, I mean,
okay. You what?
I grew up. My dad's from Boston, but they were not my team.
Okay. So not the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, I watched them for a while. I would say I go back and forth between the Cowboys and the Texans, which I know y'all will hate that I'm
no, you need to pick one.
I don't have an NFL team.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, it's hard for me being a Longhorn fan because to me, Cowboys fans and Longhorn fans are kind of viewed the same way. They're all the arrogant, cocky fans, and I get it on both ends, and so that's why it's difficult. Because don't get me wrong, we both fan bases have some arrogant fans, and it's annoying. But man, they get lumped into that. Yeah. Well, the Longhorns at least produced in the last 20 years. The Cowboys haven't produced in a long time. So, but I've been to a parade. I think it was 7 or 8, but I've been to a parade. So now if I could actually remember it. All right, let's go. Let's talk about Texas and Alabama next week. Thursday. We are getting in the RV and we're taking off. So what's your keys to the game on us taking down the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Containment. Dude, Milroe. Those wheels, man. Making plays out of nothing. That's the thing I'm most nervous about. I think our defense really showed that they're gonna be capable of putting up a fight, but it's 100% just the containment level of Milroe. If he can get around the edge, man, he can take anything to the house. So that's the key takeaway for me.
That's the only thing. Yeah, that's the only thing that's up there for me.
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but I mean I'm looking at our offensive line going into that week 2. I want to see how they handle it because we're going to have to establish a run game. We're not going to win that game if it's you're throwing the ball 60 plus times. We're going to have to establish the run game, and we're going to have to be physical up front. And we kind of saw flashes of that in the first game, but it wasn't consistent by any means. And I mean, that's going to be the key. We got to protect them. We can't have another hurt quarterback in that game. So we got to protect them in the pass protection, but we got to create some holes for these guys and establish a run because we have to control the pace of the game. We can't let Alabama control that pace and let that crowd get into it. And then we got a lot of young guys that it's going to be hard to kind of shake that,
Well, I think a part of that is just keeping the defense off the field, which is why the run game is going to be so important. Like just keep our defense and keep them rested. Run that clock a little bit more. Now, luckily, apparently they've just added a ton of commercial ads for the games, so they let the clock run now, and now we get the rest during the commercials, so that'll help a little bit. But yeah, so the 2 touchdowns. They had 48 and 47 yards. Alabama had last week, so they had 2 long touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and that was about it. If you take away those 2 touchdown passes, they had the same. They had less amount of yards than Rice had passing yards last week. But Milroe's going to be the one to contain. Um, the no backfield is going to be the one to watch because I think the big thing is as long as our defensive backs just kind of key on those wide receivers and make sure that they're covered, it's going to give our defense enough time or our front line to get that to the quarterback. But you're not going to let him scramble. And Sark talked about that today. He said we can't let him run around. You need to keep him contained. You do that. Honestly, you keep him contained, give up a couple long balls, not a big deal. As long as you keep him contained. The second you start letting him run around, that's going to be the big one. And I know I saw with Rice, I noticed a couple of back screens and things that were working that Rice was running, and that's the ones that's going to start scaring me. Bringing that tight end around to the backfield for the back end screen and all that. That's going to be something to watch. But I think our defensive backs have the talent to keep up with these wide receivers.
That's something I was kind of looking into is like their wide receiver depth. It doesn't seem like they have necessarily the most polished technical wide receivers, but they got burners. They're fast.
Correct. Yes.
So like it's all just a balancing game of how much pressure can we bring compared to their speed level to get downfield.
Correct.
So like I feel like we'll hold up pretty well, but it's still going to just 100% hinge on that defensive line. So
yeah, you got to force them to beat us over the top. I mean, if that's the way we're going to lose to Alabama, that's the way we're going to lose. I mean, I don't want Milroe to have 75 yards rushing, and the running backs have 75 yards rushing, and they're just, dominating up front. I mean, that's the kind of Alabama teams we've seen in the past that just dominate people. So I think we got to stop the run. We got to contain Milroe and just hope that we can put enough in the box, make him beat him over the top. I mean, if that's the way that's going to happen, I mean, force the young guy to make a throw. Because you saw in that first game, I mean, he was running around the field. It looked like a freaking video game. I mean, he was left to right. That one touchdown where he dropped the ball. And it was he probably ran 70 yards. That entire time just to clear up. I mean, super explosive guy. I mean, we know a good amount about him. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that and penalties. We gotta control the penalties. I know we did a good job in week 1 with penalties, but that's kind of been our Achilles heel at times, is just shooting ourselves in the foot with stupid penalties on the road. So we got to eliminate those down this year compared to last year.
Who's officiating this game?
I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure if it's Big 12 or SEC. We'll find out, I guess.
It doesn't matter. If it's Big 12, we're screwed too. I mean, I'd rather have an SEC system based off of
honestly
recent events with the Big 12. So I'm excited. It's going to be a trip of a lifetime. We are, I think, right around noon on Saturday is kind of the plan for going live. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you join us for Saturday. It's going to be a blast. We're getting in Friday nights. We'll get there about 6:00. We'll kind of set up and everything. Enjoy the town on Friday nights. Probably wake up for game day. So we'll have, not only will we go live on Saturday, but we'll have a full video together of kind of us at the game and kind of sights and sounds. We'll interview some Alabama fans while we're out there. Also, we're gonna have a blast, man. I can't wait.
What are we thinking for this live thing? Are we gonna do this out and about, or are we gonna like set up at our spot?
So I think so the setup for the live stream will be 3 mics, and we'll just be kind of sitting around at the tailgate spot, and then kind of the video portion after that to get released. We're gonna walk around. We'll find some people. We'll talk to them, kind of interview them there, and just kind of just create a montage of kind of what we did throughout the weekend, people who we met. We're just here to have fun, man. It's gonna be that's going to be a wild ride. It'll be a full weekend we won't forget, and hopefully we come away with that W at the same time.
That's right.
It's gonna be tough, but let's hear some projections. I mean, I know.
I knew it was coming.
I know. I feel like we got to get this on because next week we got to look back at these projections. It's either going to be like, oh yeah, TJ was spot on again with another call, or it's going to be, what was he thinking?
I mean, we all overshot last week, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We I think we all thought it'd be upper 40s.
Yeah, we had
50s.
40. Yeah,
That was 52.
It's 52, so we kind of overshot a little bit as far as our offense. I think we thought we'd put a few more on the board.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
All right, let's hear it, TJ.
42-21. I think
Texas?
the defense ends up holding up pretty well, and I think Ewers finally gets comfortable. That's tough
Yeah, I
for
wanna
me
live in
because I
TJ's
never
world.
want to jinx it. And like I'll pick scores, random scores all day for anybody else, but this is one of those things I just always get nervous about with big games. But I think the offensive line figures it out. I think Ewers figures it out. I think our running game, especially if Baxter comes back, Baxter look good, and both running backs and even Blue look good. I think we have everything we need. It's just whether or not we can execute. But yeah, I'm going 42-21.
Wow.
I want to live in TJ's world.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Let's hear it.
I'm not as optimistic offensively. I think Quinn's gonna look better. I think they're gonna zone in more on the mid-range game quite a bit and really make that their bread and butter until they finally open up some back end game, and I think we come away with a W. I've been debating it all day actually if I was gonna actually pick Texas in this prediction. Finally talked myself into it about halfway through this live.
I can take you off the stream if you would like. Okay.
I have it 32-27 Texas.
Okay.
32-27.
I think it's going to be kind of a nail biter throughout the third quarter, and then finally get it done.
Okay, I got a defensive battle, man. I think both defenses are going to show up. I think we're going to kind of see a similar game that we saw last year with these two teams. So I'm gonna go 24-17 Texas.
Oh.
I think we'll be grinding for these points. I don't think it's going to be an explosive show on either side, but we'll see. But I know both of these defenses are polished and both offenses are trying to figure some things out. So I'll go 24-17 Texas.
I'm trying to look at the what the over under is.
They got it at 56 last year. This year it's 56.
Yeah, I see last year was 64.5. I was like, oh, so
Yeah.
56. Okay. Interesting. So Seth, what did you have?
32-27.
Okay, so you're over, I'm over, John was under. Okay. It'll be interesting. I can't wait.
Close, man.
Big 12 eliminator. I need to pull up the schedule real quick. So what we're going to do is every week we're going to pick a Big 12 team to win that week. And you win, you move on to the next week. You lose, you're out. There's only 3 of us, so we'll see how this goes. And we'll adjust as needed going forward. But let's see, week 2 conference schedules. Do you guys have a pick yet, or have y'all looked it up yet?
Yeah, I got a pick. I think we should do, if I can. I don't think either of us should pick TCU or West Virginia this next week. I mean, come on, man. Those 2 games, if you look at their matchups, I think you gotta go with something else.
When else can I pick West Virginia?
But hold on, yeah, West Virginia may not win this week. They don't look great at all.
No, y'all can pick whoever you want for sure, but there's a couple of games that seem, I don't know, there's a couple of games last week that seemed like gimmies too, so who knows how this will go. I mean, TJ's confidence can be in Texas, so I don't know why he doesn't pick Texas.
You got to play your cards right for this. This might be the only win that you can get out of West Virginia.
Are you on West Virginia?
Yeah, that's who I got. I can't
Oh,
count on
boy.
them for a win out of anything else on their schedule after this.
Oh boy, good thing we're not doing spread. John,
Who you got,
are
TJ?
You called me to the carpet, and I think I'm going to do it. I'm going Texas this week. I'm going Texas for the win. I'm
You're
all
gonna-
in, boys.
You're gonna burn
I'm
your
all in.
Texas pick this week. Okay.
I'm all in. Don't care. All
All right.
in.
I like it. I called him out, and he went for it.
You have to.
I'll go with BYU.
Okay.
I don't know too much about the BYU team, but it feels like a game they should win. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get BYU out of the way early.
Did you see their score last week?
I did.
Do you know who they played last week? They won
Who?
14-0 against Sam Houston.
Yeah.
So
What? Hey, Sam Houston, decent squad down there, but I'm gonna go. I think this is my chance. I mean, you got Southern Utah coming in to there, so I'm gonna go
Okay.
BYU.
So BYU, West Virginia, and I have Texas.
Texas.
All right. Did y'all see the? I think we talked about this. The Hutto Liberty Hill game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What are these stats again? I'm gonna look up that tweet
Yeah,
because
it's
for
ridiculous.
you to be able to do what the Hutto quarterback did, he went.
The Hutto
There's-
quarterback was the Texas Tech
Was
commit,
the
correct?
Texas Tech? Yeah, it's Will Hammond. 36 of 58 for 719 passing yards, 88 rushing yards, 4 passing TDs and 6 rushing TDs, and he lost the game.
That's absurd.
The final score was Liberty Hill 82, Hutto 80. Wow. I saw somebody put that out, and I was like, that can't be right. And I looked, I was like, oh my. I guess it translates for Texas Tech and high school recruits as well. No defense, all offense. So
Yeah, for real.
Did y'all see
But
that,
that was, mind-boggling.
59-yard field goal from that kicker out at Westlake?
Oh,
I did. I saw that.
Yeah, I saw it randomly just before we got on. I was shocked by that.
gold
Dude, he has some room, too.
Dude, yeah. He can
Oh,
still go
really?
back
Room.
another 7 or 8 yards.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Want to bring him on before Auburn screws it up.
Next Justin Tucker right there.
All right, let's do some pick'ems real quick. So some games of the week. Let's start with number 13 Notre Dame at NC State. Notre Dame's favored -7.5.
I'd take that all day.
You're taking Notre Dame 7.5.
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. I mean, it's interesting that they got NC State as close as they do. I think Notre Dame looks really good this year. I mean, I said it last podcast and this one. We'll see where it goes. But Notre Dame has looked well this year so far. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Good, but who are they playing?
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Like literally are not allowed to pass the ball. And they,
I'll be adding them to my parlay once we get to the casino. So
okay.
Yeah.
Good, okay.
that's one of my picks for sure.
22 Ole Miss versus 24 Tulane. Ole Miss is -7.
This could be like the second most interesting game of the week. This could be so much fun to watch. Are they a night game or when are they playing? Do you know?
Let's see. I'm gonna tell you right now. I think I'm taking Tulane. Not only am I taking Tulane, I think I'm taking Tulane to win.
Really?
Oh wow.
You're not a Lane Kiffin believer, huh?
Yes. No, Tulane. Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Ole Miss.
It's a 2:30 game.
Okay.
So it's a midday game, and then I'm getting it to low, but I believe they're at Tulane.
It's at Tulane.
Which are they doing Superdome? I know they played at the Superdome before, but I'm not sure if that's where they're going to be. But yeah, at Tulane.
Are you on ESPN?
Yeah, it's on ESPN too. It says the game's in New Orleans at Yulman Stadium, so I guess it's not. I guess they do have their own stadium there, but I'll take Ole Miss though. I mean, I think Tulane does. I think Tulane does have a great team, but I think if you look at Ole Miss, I mean, I don't know if you saw that opening game. I know they didn't really play anybody. But I mean, they won 75 or 73-7 and had 500 plus passing yards. I mean,
Did
I
Spencer
think
Sanders get the start there?
so. That's a good question.
I think
Look here
dude,
real quick.
everything was a fog after that draft.
I know, man. I did. Dude, that's why I was so upset. Saturdays that day, dude, I'm getting on the couch for game day, and I'm not leaving the couch until that late night game, and that draft just completely threw me off. I
Yeah.
wasn't able to actually sit down and dissect those games like I normally do. But so
I really
they actually gave a lot of their guys looks. Dart was the main one with 23 attempts, and Sanders had 14 attempts. So I mean, both of them got a look, but it looks like Jackson Dart was the ultimate starter for the majority of the game.
He had 334 passing yards.
Yeah, I slung it around, but yeah, I mean, to sum it up, yeah, I like Ole Miss and I like that 7. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Ole Miss on it too. I think Tulane's not gonna live up to what they did last year. I'm excited about this matchup. I think it's gonna be fun, but I think Lane pulls it out for sure. I don't know about covering.
We'll see. We'll see. Oh, you don't think they're covered?
I'm not
So who are
sure.
you picking?
Well, I'll pick Ole Miss, but I'm just saying what I actually bet
Okay.
on it. I don't know. I don't
Okay.
think I bet the cover.
Next we got Texas A&M number 23 versus Miami at Miami.
Miami all day.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting because he's given up offensive play calls. So I think it's the first time he's done it. First time he's done it at A&M, but I think it's the first time he's ever given up offensive play calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
In the history of his head coach experience, yeah, this is the first time. That's why it seemed like it was such a man. Even in like press conferences, like 4 or 5 months later, he's still like he's gritting his teeth, just like saying the words that he was doing at play.
Yes.
Yeah, he hates it, dude. he doesn't want to turn over those keys. You can tell that it's painful for him to do it.
He loves all those pieces of paper on the sidelines. What's he gonna do with his hands?
Here's my thing about the Aggies. I think they're a decent football team. I feel like every time week 2 or 3, they always end up losing to a random team. And for that reason, I'm taking the points with Miami. I'm going +4 Miami in this one. I just don't. I don't know if they can put it all together again. We'll see.
Yeah. On that note, shout out Appalachian State. Best game.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously have a vested interest in watching them burn. I hope they do. But I think this is going to be a fun game. There's been a lot of talk about Miami, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually step up to the plate this week. I think Texas A&M probably pulls it out though. I take them.
Okay.
As much as I don't want to, I hope they fall on their face, but I think they'll probably do it.
Yeah, I'm taking A&M as well. I think A&M will get them by a touchdown at least. So I'll take A&M on this.
Okay, so y'all got A&M, I got Miami.
Yep.
We're gonna go number 25 Iowa versus Iowa State. Iowa is -4. This is always kind of a battle. I just I can't get into it enough with Iowa watching Big Ten. Like I have no idea with them. Iowa State had flashes in the pan last year. I think I'm still taking Iowa in this one.
I don't think I've ever actually watched this matchup before, and I know it probably seems crazy. Yeah, like the Iowa schools, I just could care less about ever watching this matchup. But yeah, I would, dude. I don't think Iowa State just has really much going on this year. I think Campbell stayed on the train too long. He's kind of stuck in nowhere right now with not a lot to do. I'm gonna take Iowa for sure. I think they're gonna pull it out.
Yeah, I'll take Iowa as well, but I mean, this is tough because honestly, this could be one of those games that's a 9-6 game, or something along those lines with the offenses for both of these teams kind of seeming suspect. So I'll still take Iowa though. I
It's got
think
to get
Iowa.
24 points, man.
Yeah, I was going to say just 24, and he accomplished it week one. So
I remember you showing us at the
on
draft. He goes, "Hey, made his points
on the freaking dot, dude.
Yeah.
Number 15, Oregon versus Texas Tech. Oregon is favored by 6.5.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm taking Oregon all day. Like, that's not even a question to me. It is at Texas Tech.
Yeah, same. I'm going to take Oregon. I think that's an easy one. I will be adding that to my parlay line also.
Ding.
I'm going to enjoy watching that one. It's going to be fun. It'll be interesting to see if Tech actually really fight. If they something a lot different than what they did last week, can they actually do something different? But I think Oregon's going to take it over for sure.
I mean, as much as I want to play devil's advocate and do something different than y'all, I was gonna preach the whole you got a night game in Lubbock. Strange things happen in Lubbock when ranked teams come in.
No.
Yeah, but no, I mean from what I saw that first game of the year, unless this Oregon team's just not what we thought. But I mean, you got a guy like Bo Nix. It's not like he's gonna be afraid to freaking play in Lubbock, Texas, when he went through that slate in the SEC for as long as he did before he transferred over to Oregon. So, I mean, I don't see Oregon having too much troubles with this, to be honest with you. I think this would be a couple of touchdown game, in my opinion.
Look, and I've got buddies that went to Tech. They're huge Tech fans. They text me all the time. They're going to hate that I say this, and it's nothing against them. But the Big 12 made their bed when they made those comments a couple weeks ago. Screw Texas Tech. I hope they lose every freaking game for the rest of the year. I can't wait. It's a 0 win across the board. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So that's just how I feel. You don't like it, put it in the comments that you don't like it. Okay. Last game, Nebraska, Colorado, at Colorado. Colorado's favored by 3.5 now. I wonder how much that line moved.
I want to say it was I want to say before this game that Nebraska was favored by like 4 or 5 before week 1 happened. Yeah, I mean,
Nebraska was supposed to be a big dog this year. They were supposed to do something, and they come out and flop the first week. I think Colorado will have a tougher time handling some bigger boys in the Big Ten than TCU. I think it's not going to be as easy. I do think Colorado wins this game. I don't know that they even cover though. I think it's 3 points.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm gonna go Colorado.
A high scoring game.
I think Colorado covers by a lot. I'll say they win by 2 touchdowns. I think
wow.
Colorado's just going to keep riding this train. I don't think Nebraska's going to be much of a stumbling block for them. Rule is going to have a chance to turn that program around, but it's not going to be this year, and Colorado's going to walk right over them.
Well.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough thing for me because I mean, there's a lot of hype on Colorado obviously before the season. Then you go on the road, and beat TCU, and you have all eyes. I mean, I turned on ESPN, and they weren't talking about Alabama. They weren't even talking about a lot of these top-ranked teams. I mean, it was all Deion. It was all Colorado, what they did. I mean, Colorado didn't rush the ball very well, but, man, they threw it all over the field. And that Nebraska team, I mean, I know that's a tough game for them on the road against Minnesota, really hard-fought game, grinding game that Nebraska really should have won. But you have Minnesota pull a couple plays that are pretty ridiculous in that fourth quarter. But, I mean, with that being said, I still think Colorado rides the train a little longer before they suffer that first L. I'll take Colorado, and I like the 3.5. So I'll take them by a touchdown.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this kind of recap of week 1. Going into week 2, got a big game coming up on Saturday. We will see everybody on Saturday at some point. We'll go live. We'll kind of keep you updated. You can follow us on Twitter now. It's at the Guys of Texas, as you see right here. Follow us on Twitter. And make sure to hit the subscribe button so you're updated when we go live. We appreciate you guys joining, and we'll see you on Saturday with that big win.
Come on.
Welcome.